I got myself into a lot of trouble in my days, in my youth. I was a bit of a wild child, but it's just grown from there. I just love bikes. I love the social life around bikes.
Stretch of carriageway out here, an arterial road, no speed limits on it. 17, you didn't have to take a test. Absolute carnage unfolds. And the story of here is really the story of adrenaline, of youth, and with the passage of time, the story of society through legislation trying to keep them alive.
I would come here to get a fix of bikes and the smell and the atmosphere, and it had such a great reputation. Started riding bikes when I was 17 years old because I had a very brave mother who bought me one because I made sure my bicycle was stolen because I wanted her to buy me a motorcycle.
So I've been into bikes ever since I was a little girl. I was lucky enough to grow up in the Lake District, and I remember being in the back of my mum's car, and every time bikes sort of passed each other, they'd give each other the nod, and I remember thinking I really want to be a part of that.
My neighbour, he was a rocker. I used to watch him get his bikes out the shed. I used to go and help him clean them, and I just thought to myself, that's me as soon as I'm old enough to have a bike. And at 17 years old, on my day of my birthday, I went out and got a bike.
I think ACE is a real hub for everybody who has a bike. I don't think it matters what bike you're on, how long you've been riding, if you're a pillion or not, if you're a girl, if you're a guy, if you've come, wherever you've come from. ACE is a real hub where everybody just gets to meet each other, see each other's bikes. They've got a great space out here, especially on bike night where everybody just kind of piles in. It's just fantastic. It's a real kind of community place.
I don't work on bikes anymore. I used to fix them, my own bikes rather, but I like to have some understanding of what's going on.
But people still like to, have fun with their vehicle, show it off, swap notes as to who's the best mechanic and where to get this job done, who's got the best deal on tyres. This is a place where those that share that interest come together to swap those notes.
In my experience, the guys that we ride with, the guys that I've come into contact with, have been nothing but supportive and encouraging. I think that they think it's really cool, perhaps that, they also have girls that enjoy bikes as much as they do, and not just the riding element, it's the sort of the technical side as well, the modifying, if you have a puncture or if you need to change your brake pads or whatever, you can sort of do that as well.
It's an equaliser, it's a leveller. Motorcycles are a real leveller, I think, between the sexes and between different cultures of society. I find it a real leveller, and I really celebrate that. I enjoy that. I suppose I adopt a hat of I'm just a person on a motorcycle, but of course I'm not. I'm a woman on a motorcycle, and that does have some effects. It does have some effects. And so I've quite enjoyed being androgynous and not having to succumb to the more female requirements of society that I've always kind of felt uncomfortable with. And this is a very nice, easy way. Biking lends itself to that very well.
I think my favourite experience was on my Suzuki 1000. I went over to Europe and I did about 7 or 8 countries, which was absolutely fantastic.
My most memorable breakdowns are certainly before the mobile phones came along, because you're utterly stranded and totally at the whim of whoever may be coming by at the time to help you. And I've ended up in some odd garages of odd people in the middle of nowhere who have tinkered away. I think my best and most favourite occasion was I was going to northern France. I was on the Guzzi Spada, 1000 Guzzi, and the exhaust manifold broke off. So there were flames coming out the front of the thing. It's also a very large engine. It was really noisy. So we drove to France. The next day, I had to phone up and find someone to fix it. So I drove 25 miles to a bike shop. It was in a tiny village in the countryside, and they had a race team. It was a tiny little workshop, and they had this race. I was like, they're not going to fix my old 1000cc matte black Guzzi. Drove it into their workshop. They had a small area with some old second-hand parts where they had an exhaust for my motorcycle. They fixed it and charged me, I think, I don't know, 20 francs or something.
Vic Edenborough had this bright idea of opening a cafe, motor showrooms, fuel station, petrol station, something akin to motorway services that we have today. But that opened in 1938, just in time for the Second World War. As part of the enemy's efforts to knock Britain over, raiders came, flattened everything through here, destroying that first cafe. And post-war, cafe restaurant opened and tied in perfectly with the then post-war baby boom. And as we all now know, that baby boom had a bit of money, and with that bit of money they went out and bought motorbikes.
Coming to the Ace Cafe as often as I do, there's a lot of ladies here that ride bikes, and big bikes, big racing bikes, and they can handle them and they look after them. So there's no reason why a woman can't ride a big bike.
I met my partner who I'm with now. I used to be the photographer for him when he was doing his racing. And he went to me one day, he went, "You look a bit bored, babe. What do you want to do?" I went, "I want to be out there with you." At one of the next events at Santa Pods, we took his stunt bike. And he went, "I brought my bandit here for you to drag race." And I was shocked. I was shaking, went down to the scrutineering, signed on, never looked back on that one. Currently, I'm officially the 12th fastest woman in the world on a motorbike and the 5th fastest in the UK.
Women have a wholly different place in society to that which they had pre-1914. But what had changed was this ability of women to go out to work, earn money, and just as with their male colleagues, as it were, they could go and buy what they wanted. And many, or I shouldn't say many, goodly numbers were into bikes.
There was very few women that rode bikes, and we did used to get a look and, "Oh look, there's a bird on that bike, that's not right." But we just carried on, and it's more common these days.
Obviously, there's sort of a minority of guys who, you know, perhaps even aren't involved in biking, who see you're a girl and see you ride, and they automatically think, "Oh, you know, leathers or whatever," and you know, you get the wrong impression. But I think both the community, the biking community, is so strong that both guys and girls, you have enough people around who can kind of help you out if you ever get into that kind of situation. But apart from that, everybody's been fantastic. Yeah, it's a really, really good vibe. Yeah,
It's protected me very much as a woman over the years. I feel huge protection. I'm not being driven home by somebody else who's drunk. I'm not in the streets or on public transport late at night. I don't drink, so I can always drive myself home. Most people don't know I'm a woman most of the time, and I think I've avoided an awful lot of hassle. You know, for whatever reason, I think it's really protected me. Sometimes people say you're brave to ride a motorcycle, and I think you're a lot braver to walk in the streets late at night.
What has come about with the passage of time is women's motorcycle groups. So that there's arguably a voice now for women in motorcycling, which, to my knowledge, didn't exist of its own back in the day. That would appear to me to have changed. But the appeal of having fun, finding that the body produces adrenaline when you give it a bit large, and all the sound that goes with it, I don't think that's a unique experience of my generation. Or I think it's been discovered plenty of times before, and that's to include by girls as well. And long may it last.
The first one is a group called Biker Chicks UK. I think they started on social media. It's just a forum to share stories and pictures and videos of real girls who really ride. It's a mixture of girls, mixture of bikes, but we're all sort of brought together by sort of the same interest, the same passion. They organise big ride outs as well. The track day that I've got booked in March is with them, so we're a load of girls and also sort of other halves that are coming along. The second group is a group called the Original Slow Boys. It's a mixed group of girls and guys, based all over the world, and again, we're very strong with kind of organising ride outs. We're always at Ace Cafe in the summer.
Best and worst experiences on a bike, often those experiences go together and they happen at the same time. So, one could be stranded up the M4 in the middle of the night because your bike's broken down, but then the remarkable camaraderie of the biking community suddenly comes along and picks you up and saves you and takes you off, and you think, oh, I love it.
I just enjoy being part of the community and meeting new people. I've met so many friends, even just this past year, in less than a year, I've met so many friends through having a bike. So it's just nice to be part of a strong community.
As a woman, if you wish to be perhaps a more female woman, you make a lot of sacrifices also riding a motorcycle. My hair never looks good, my nails are always dirty. I'm always wearing boys' clothes, which suits me, but the independence, yes, the freedom, the protection, all of those things are fantastic.
All my daughters have been on my bike. I used to take them to school on my motorbike in relays. The other kids thought it was absolutely fantastic, to see my daughters, 9 and 10 years old at the time, jumping on the back of a big bike.
Yeah, my mum. I think she was fine when I had a 125. She was okay, but when I got my bigger bike, she was sort of, oh, you don't need that much power around London. What are you doing? So we don't talk about it too much. I've been trying to get her on the back, but so far I haven't managed.
It's very grounding, and you're welcome as a stranger, and there's a bond there.